Hello, Mr. Derafog. I got a question for you. What would you say is the most annoying thing in all of VRChat? Would have to be lag, right? Like, you go to any world with anybody in, there's gonna be somebody in there where you show their avatar and you lose all your frames. Guaranteed. It's the most blatant flaw in this game.
I'm just trying to see life
Nothing I can't afford. Big biz, I'm doing fine. Up to shenanigans. Myers won't die. I'm Robert Pattinson.
VRChat is unlike any other game on the market today because it is a player-made game. The worlds are made by the player base. Anybody can make a world of any type and upload it. Likewise, you can upload an avatar in which you can embody and make it be whatever you want. You can do anything, but being able to do anything, that isn't always a good thing.
Oh God.
In regular video games development, ideally, one of the steps they take involves a long time of optimization. Game studios should take into consideration the fact that their customers won't all be running top-end PCs. So to make sure those customers have a good final product, you need to make sure things run well. Things are optimized. Ideally. Some games make it seem like this step isn't done. But VRChat avatars and worlds are not made by game studios. They are made by Jim, a 30-year-old guy who works at a hardware store. Or Jessica, a recent high school graduate looking for something to do while her job applications get rejected by AI. They're normal people with no history in making something. But it's not just Jim and Jessica making their own avatars and using them. That is a very small minority in VRChat. Most people get avatars from others, which is something that should be under more scrutiny. You're not just Jim, one in a group of 80. You're the 79 others. What happens years later when Jessica still doesn't have that job and realizes that selling avatars is a genuine potential solution? Makes the same unoptimized things that she always has for herself with no issues brought up, and then sells it for full price. That's a problem. A problem for the customers who don't know that they are crashing everyone out, and Jessica, who doesn't care. Because she just made $40 on one sale, and there was nobody to tell her where she went wrong.
I got the good cheekbones there. You see this shit?
What makes an avatar?
I would break an avatar down into three major components. You have the presentation, the data, and the behavior. Presentation is how does the avatar look, sound, and feel. Data is basically the raw package source files, the settings that are saved, and the various states that the avatar has to keep track of. And then finally, behavior would be how does the avatar respond to you, to others, and the world it's currently in.
You gotta start with the base, obviously. And you put whatever clothing on, and you go through all the stuff like weight painting, and then you just make the textures all pretty, the materials. But you gotta add some fun stuff to mess around with.
What is an avatar? Well, an avatar is a 3D body that you control while in VR. Your headset is tracked and controls the head location. Hands are your controllers. And with third-party trackers, hips and feet as well. It's an essential part of the virtual experience. You can't play the game without one. And they come in all shapes and sizes. But regardless of the shape or size, every avatar is composed of the same things. The things that are listed on the stats page of the avatar. This is something that everyone who plays VRChat should know about. Everyone should know what these things are and how they can affect your experience of the game. Because unlike other games, there's no quality slider to get better performance in this game. It's polygons, bones, materials, shaders, lights, and particles. And they can all affect your experience in this game. So what parts of an avatar cause lag?
Well, like the aforementioned three things I mentioned, all of those can. So textures, your materials, particles, even animator logic can really slow down an instance.
It's not really one thing. It's more like a few different things combined. I would say the biggest thing that I've noticed recently is the VRAM size, because it bunches up, like it adds up.
VRAM capabilities vary, and it's a finite resource. So for every avatar you have in an instance, that's eating up that much more VRAM, and you're going to feel that very quickly.
VRAM is a dedicated type of RAM found on your graphics card, optimized to handle graphics-related tasks like storing textures, models, and other image data, said Google's AI when I looked it up. Basically, it lets you look at pretty stuff, and depending on the card that you have, you're limited by how much VRAM is available. For example, my card is an 8GB 4060 Ti. That means I have 8 gigs of VRAM. So if I have a crowd of cute mutes running around in 250 megabyte VRAM avatars, that adds up quickly. It's not exactly calculated like this, but for the sake of simplicity, 4 of them is 1 gig. 4 times 8 is my whole card. Oh boy, it's not even an instance limit most of the time. Show too many, I lag out. This happens all the time to me. I can't help but show people's avatars when I talk to them.
The uncompressed size is also a big factor, because when you load an avatar in and it gets unpacked, that's what makes you like stutter for a second while loading like a new person in. And there's also like a lot of unnecessary things on most avatars that you don't need in like a public setting, like ambient occlusion and lights. If you want those things on an avatar, you can like have them on a separate upload, but yeah.
Lights. Lights is the other one that kills my frames. The most noticeable example I see a lot is this asset from Booth. Essentially, it's a spotlight on the avatar that allows real-time shadows to cast on your avatar, which is really cool for pictures, but it's not something you want to have on all the time in an instance. It draws on your computer's processing power, and it's not really necessary. Add it on top of the other stats and aspects on an avatar, and it builds up. I got someone to explain to me so I could be more in depth about how this affects you, but I got lost when they explained. So, general rule of thumb on all of these stats though, lower number, better performance. Not all the time for everything, but generally for sure. I mean, this avatar, it has really good stats. You're going to get a lot better performance seeing this guy than any e-girl in the entire game.
Be mindful, be wary where you step, because there are traps. Comes with a side of spaghetti. Would you like that?
But do people even care that they're making these unoptimized avatars or buying them?
No. Most people just look at an avatar and think, oh, that's cute, and then they buy it without even looking for the stats, even if they don't exist.
I think everyone cares, but everyone might not be aware that they do care. I've not met a single person that has not complained about a laggy instance or an event that was ruined by like having 10 frames per second because there were so many non-performant models in the instance.
A lot of people also just don't know. I've seen a lot of avatars with like 100 materials, like 60 meshes and stuff on them, but they just don't know better because nobody tells them.
A lot of consumers may not be too familiar with that stuff, but also VRChat kind of provides these sort of band-aids, these stopgap solutions with like avatar culling or leaning on safety settings, and that gives the people an impression that, oh, this is just the way the game performs, and these are the tools that we have, so it just is what it is.
People do not pay much attention to whether or not avatars are optimized. I did a little poll in my Discord server just to see what my community focuses on when buying avatars. And the results are about as expected. Everyone cares about looks. Features is next in line, then performance. You also need to keep in mind that my community is going to be much more involved and knowledgeable about the creator side of things than the average player, which makes this whole thing even worse. The average player does not think about performance. The average player does care about performance, But the average player does not know about performance and how performance will affect their time playing the game. The knowledge around it, for sure, needs to be pushed more by creators and the game itself so players understand. You don't need to understand how the avatar works and the why one thing might be better than another as a consumer. But the fact that stats exist and affect your game time should be known. But it isn't. And I think I know why. I mean, let's look at how people find avatars in the first place.
Did you
I was too busy taking a photo of
You say you love me, but you just wanna be friends with me. You say you love me, but your work took all your energy. You never listen when I just need an apology. I read our book, this chapter doesn't know history.
The first place everyone will experience is the OG pedestal. Go to one of the thousands of avatar worlds and find an avatar you like in them. For a while now, the most popular one of these has been the avatar search world. But this is just one method, and when using a public avatar, you're limited to what you can find. This method also, nobody ever looks at the stats. You click on the pedestal and look at what it's like in the mirror, but I've never seen anyone care about performance when looking at public avatars. You just assume they're good enough. When you get sick of public avatars though, and you have the time to invest or the skills to back you up, many people decide to make their own avatars, just like Jim and Jessica did. This doesn't have to be making everything from scratch. You can purchase separate parts and piece them together like a Lego man, switching out the heads, hair, clothes, accessories, materials. Get it all working, and you have a custom kit-bashed avatar. In fact, it's how most of those avatars that you find on the marketplace get made. More information, of course, in my avatar creation video. But that takes time, skill, and effort. There are tools to make it easier, sure, but the vast majority of people don't want to go through it all. So instead, they get other people to do it with commissions, or much more commonly, purchasing avatars online. One thing you might notice when using free avatars in avatar worlds is that there are features that are locked away. Maybe you can't toggle the clothes or something. That's because the creators upload them there to be a taste, allow you to test the avatar a bit before purchasing it to get the full experience. Avatar creators want their work to be monetized, their time to be rewarded, and purchasing avatars that others have made is big business. But where do you buy them? There are a few online options for where you can upload avatars for purchase. You can have your own site where you control how things look and everything about it, a choice growing in popularity now that sites like Gumroad are hammering down on more lewd content. Then there's PayHip, and of course, the Japanese marketplace at Booth. But what I really want to focus on today is Jinxie, because unlike all these other sites run by massive corporations, Jinxie is run by a small team, including Link's Jinx, who is in the community. And if we make enough noise, we'll hear about it. So no, all these other marketplaces have the exact same issues, but I'll only be showing Jinxie. When you go into the marketplace and find an avatar you like, something may be lacking in the information you get about that avatar. Stats. To prove a point, I went on Jinxie and I decided I wanted to go over 100 new avatar listings on the site. I wanted to see of those 100, how many actually had their stats listed. I didn't go through 100. I went through 117. And in total, I found 40 with stats, 63 with no stats, and 14 with not enough stats. Like, they listed 1 or 2, but that's it. And to be honest, that just does not look good for the avatar creators or Jinxie. It's kind of unacceptable. With so many avatars not listing stats, the result is that as a regular person browsing these avatars, you don't notice if the stats are there or not. And without the stats, you assume it's good. I mean, as a customer going into a grocery store, for example, when buying a chocolate bar, you don't immediately assume that it might be poisoned. Because you're the customer, not the producer. You assume that there's already things in place to prevent that kind of thing from happening. On the avatar creator side, they are not incentivized to list stats. It's nice to do so, should be common sense, but nothing is stopping them from not doing it. If the avatar is visually appealing, people will buy it anyways. There needs to be something in place to force them. I don't even believe that this would be even that hard to do. If Jinxie, for example, required you to insert stats into a stats section when posting an avatar, that would be all it takes. Make it so that it is required. As consumers, we have the right to know what we're buying. Show us what we're buying so we don't regret it and end up not wanting to engage in your products anymore. Not wanting to engage in your site anymore.
Yeah, you should definitely have a section to put in stats that are required to like publish the avatar. But it feels like they don't really look at the like quality of what's being sold, and maybe they could like get some people in that actually look at the stats so people don't go all crazy. Like, I also only sell very poor avatars, but I still try to make sure there's not like a bunch of materials and stuff on them.
What? You like...
I'm comfortable with
Oh,
like...
okay, wait. You got carpet though?
God damn it, man!
Frick you.
Oh no!
That's it.
Why do we get the avatar marketplace flooded with unoptimized avatars? I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, of course. One is poor kit bashing skills. Kit bashing is the method of taking a bunch of assets that others have made and combining them into a full piece. And in the process of doing so, if you take no effort to optimize the pieces that you choose for your kit bash, you get really high quality stuff. And high quality is not good.
I mean, if everything's red, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, because poly count is always red if it's like above 70k. But I think if an avatar has like 100 materials and above 200 megabytes VRAM size, you should definitely consider, like, is it really worth it? Or should I maybe look for something else? Because if you really want to use that long time, you should probably optimize at least the VRAM.
You don't need 4K textures, you don't need that many polygons, and you don't need everything to have a different material. Animation logic is complicated. I don't really understand it, but I know, because I've been told by everyone, if you got a lot of toggles, that kills your frames. A reality of selling avatars, though, is this: if you have more features, you will get more sales. Features are desired. People like options. People like multiple outfits to choose from. They like cool gimmicks, and they either don't care about how that can kill frames if done poorly, or they don't know.
Most customers want everything at once. They want a bunch of outfits, a bunch of hairstyles. So we try to deliver that, but optimizing takes time. Most people don't want to put in that time because in that time they can do another avatar.
Features equal more sales. So for a creator, those features are going to be more important than optimization to get sales. And the only way they will ever do otherwise is if it's required. Of course, once again, there is no control from the marketplace forcing them to make anything optimized, and there's no incentives either. Incentives would be like, show the optimized avatars first in the list.
It really comes down to two things. It's a lack of awareness and a lack of incentive. When it comes to avatar making, it's kind of its own mini slice of game development, so you kind of need to learn multiple disciplines. And when a creator that's just bursting into the scene wants to learn how to make an avatar, they're going to learn only the necessary amount to get something in the game. They're not going to learn all this extra stuff on the side because there's little incentive to. If a game allows very poor rank models, then what's the point of trying to go the extra mile to get a really excellent ranked model?
But I think the main reason you get so many unoptimized avatars is a simple lack of resources telling you exactly what you should do to optimize an avatar, and a lack of knowledge on where to get those resources if they do exist. So, to help me explain avatar optimization and where to go to learn more, is somebody many people on the VRChat Reddit glaze constantly.
I was studying the blade.
Cam.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources currently out there. There's one called VRC School, which is, in my opinion, the best source for any kind of knowledge when it comes to optimizing avatars. And honestly, it kind of even goes farther than that. A lot of the knowledge you can gain from this site could actually be applied in other areas if you plan on, going into 3D or, Unity or anything like that. And any point in your life, it has really, really useful information for that. Going to the most important and the most prevalent issues for performance, I guess. You could look at triangles and materials. Those are huge. A lot of people overdo it with triangles and a lot of people overdo it with materials. Triangles can be a tough one to optimize if you don't know kind of what you're looking for. You'll get two different parties of people when they talk. You'll see some people say it's so easy to take a 300,000 triangle model and turn it into 180. And you'll hear some people say it's impossible to go from 300 to 250. So you have multiple people in different boats, different buckets, and their perception on this definitely greatly affected by time and experience with optimizing these things. And when it comes to triangle count, I think the best advice that I could give is that you always need a lot less than you think you do. If you go in game and you have a nice chain that you like to look at, go have your friend clone your model or something and stand 3-4 feet away and see how the chains look from there and see, hey, if that chain was a collection of less circular links, say something a little bit more blocky from this distance, would it really look that bad if I removed a whole bunch of polygons? And the same with materials, and materials comes with textures as well. A big thing that a lot of people do, and I see this a lot, is having really high-res textures. I mean, should people even do this with Skyrim mods, right? And it looks all pretty, sure. But when you really get into game and you get really close, you're not really going to end up seeing those numbers, those pixels. So a big thing that I see a lot of people do with a lot of the models and the prefabs and things now is having really high quality eye textures. See that relatively often as people having, 1K or 2K eye textures. I actually have an eye atlas, which has 16 different eye textures on it. And that's 512 by 512. And it looks fine. So you can really, really also, same with triangles, you can really get away with a lot less resolution than you think you can. I think the best way to optimize both triangles and textures/materials is to, if you're in Unity or in game, jump away from your model and see what it looks like. And if you're in Unity, this is way easier. Drop your texture res from 2K to 1K, and then go back 6 feet and see if you can tell the difference. If you can't tell the difference, then you really should drop it because you're never going to notice in game because everything's moving in game. The most important thing ever, if you're going to optimize, honestly, I would say stop Googling VRChat. If you want to really learn how to optimize and you want to get better at doing this kind of thing, and you want to get better at picking out this kind of thing, I think it's extremely useful to, instead of Googling, how do I do this thing for VRChat, you Google, how do I do this thing for the video game market? Or how do I optimize a mesh for a video game? Having the VRChat in your search, with no offense to anyone, inherently decreases the quality when it comes to 3D modeling. Inherently decreases the level of knowledge of the individual you're getting information from. Because as a 3D modeler or artist, specifically for VRChat, they're inherently hobbyists. So if you're Googling VRChat or looking up content for how to do things in VRChat, you should be expecting to be getting information from hobbyists. Learning these kinds of things is not a VRChat specific thing. These are real world industry standard things that you can learn how to do. So with that being said, you should be looking up tutorials and videos and things of that nature from professionals. So leaving out VRChat from my search history when I was looking and learning how to do things was the best thing that I could have done to increase my skill level.
In the future, will things get better? Yes, they will. Why? Because VRChat is moving forward with the avatar marketplace. I don't know the details. It could be coming sooner than we think, or take time. Maybe it's already out by the time I get this video done. I doubt it though. But with the VRChat marketplace, I think having avatars that are well optimized will be a major priority for VRChat because everyone wants the game to run better, especially the devs. The VRChat staff has some strong opinions on optimization and performance. We've all seen Tupper's Twitter. I would expect avatars that are too heavy will not be featured either as much or not at all on their marketplace. And that will kill potential income for creators who make heavier models, incentivizing them to focus more on optimization, making the experience better for the player base as a whole.
If I were to take a guess, I feel like the first phase of the implementation will have restrictions already. I think this would be the turning point to do so, to really enforce those guidelines from the top down.
Something I really want is more creators to be making guides and resources for optimization. I'm not that guy. Sorry. There is a reason I get others to help me with these videos. I hate avatar creation, but more videos and guides and more tools. For example, Scent, a friend of mine, made an avatar uploader that allows you to upload avatars without Unity. That got shut down by VRChat. But he has expressed a desire to make something else to help in the creation process, maybe. I think that's really cool. I think that would be really helpful. Those kind of tools will keep getting made, decimators, etc. And having them for people who aren't sure how to do it and wouldn't without is always good. And of course, one day we'll get better instance controls in game. I pray. Safety was reworked, which is great. I love that. Instance control would be wonderful. Force you to be green to join an instance, so that way we can show everyone and not be worried about getting absolutely wrecked in terms of our frames.
I would also, I think it might be hard to do, but blocking avatars via specific stats. So if it's like above 50 materials, that's gonna get blocked. If it's 1 million pulleys, it's gonna get blocked. Even hiding the same avatar like for multiple people, even though I think that's not really possible.
I would love to be able to record more than 6 people at once without having to buy a brand new graphics card. We shall see. I'm just like a lot of you guys. I am the consumer. I don't look at optimization as much, but I'd love it if the people who should paid more attention. The creators, mainly. Until then, I'll just keep playing with my excellent lemon avatar, looking around at rooms full of fallbacks and robots. VRChat, man.
Currently, I think the biggest problem in the avatar market is going to be the lack of a VRChat-backed way of getting content onto their platform. I know that's currently in the works, but as a result, you have this decentralization of third-party marketplaces such as Jinxie or aggregators like Nixie, and it kind of forces the consumer to search around to find the content they want. I don't think that decentralization is inherently a problem. I think currently, because there is no VRChat specific platform, there's just so many options out there, like from multiple competing marketplaces to people still trying to sell stuff on Discord servers, to even looking for asset farming or like looking for assets scrolling through Twitter. It just seems a bit absurd. You know, there should be an easier way to find the stuff you want. Another big issue would probably be, like, I think I mentioned this last interview, but the oversaturation of the market really makes it difficult to separate quality work from the not so great stuff. So I don't know how to solve that, but it's a kind of a big problem.
It's very oversaturated with a lot of avatars that have very poor performance because we're not held accountable for releasing bad quality avatars.
Dude, there was a person today with 1 milli polys! How do you have that many triangles? Jesus